Okay, so let me start with my version of HTML table. So I'm going to go to my checklist and I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to make a basically start from scratch. So we did Flask routes, we did Hello Flask. So I'm going to make a new folder for my application. That's step one, right? And I'm going to call this Flask Players. Okay. I'm going to paste my checklist in here and I'm going to open Flask Players in a new window. Okay, so now I know that I'm not inside of another Flask application. I'm ready to go. There's nothing in here. It's a fresh canvas. Okay, so let me open up my checklist. What do I do next?
So you create a virtual environment.
So I have to type python-m. You may or may not. Pip env install Flask. Okay. That will go out to PyPy, which is the repository for Flask, or I'm sorry, with Python modules, third-party modules, and it will install everything in my virtual environment that I need. Okay, it'll install basically the Flask library is all we need right now. Okay, so once I've done that, what's next?
You activate the
Yep.
environment.
So same command, but instead of install Flask, it's shell. Cool. Now I need server.py. So I'm going to create it. Take from my checklist. Oops. Oh, come on. Let me zoom out a little bit. It's not letting me zoom out. Great. There we go. Oh my gosh. Copy, paste. There we go. I'm going to take these comments out. I hope that's okay. Just so I can kind of get in the way. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now I don't want to render hello world. I want to render my templates, right? So let's see if I did this right. If I go back to my checklist, I'm going to add my templates. Let's see if this works. Cool, it works. So now I just need to put in the boilerplate HTML. We'll call this index. And I always put just like this, like a smoke test, just to show me it works. Okay. So now in server.py, instead of returning hello world, how do I get my index.html to display?
You render it.
Yeah, so I've got to use the render template function in Flask, right? So I'm going to import it, render template. Oh, I need a comma. Then instead of returning the string, I'm going to return the invocation of that function. Oops. The invocation of that function. The first argument I need to pass it is the string version of my file name. So, right, so I'm going to use single quotes, index.html. Okay, so now I should be good to go. So to test it, I need to run python server.py to get my server started. Okay, looks good. Now I need to go to localhost 5000 to see if it works. And I did it. All right. So this looks terrible, right? I'm sure you're all like cringing at how plain and horrible and this looks, right? So if you want to make it pretty, and let me show you how first and then encourage you not to do it after I show you. And I'll say more about that in a second. So if I want to make it pretty, I've got to do it via Flask. Okay, so if we want to add CSS, JavaScript, images, and the like, we need to use this special syntax for Flask. Okay, so I can never remember all this stuff, so I'm just going to copy it and I'm going to paste it in my HTML. So this just is like a sort of using Jinja to substitute for normal like link style tags and script tags and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this, come over to index.html, and I'm going to paste right here. Oh, that looks horrible. Oh, we'll stuck with it. That's fine. Okay, so in order to render or to use CSS and JavaScript, I need to create these files. So first thing I need is a static folder, or a folder called static specifically. Can't call it, resources or anything else. It's got to be called static. And that's just Flask, right? That's just the requirements. So right next to templates in the root of my application, I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to call it static. Okay, and then inside of static, I'm going to add a CSS folder with my style.css, I guess. I'm going to change these names. I don't like it. So I'm just going to call my CSS file style.css. And I'm going to call my JavaScript file index.js. Okay. So the file name, the path starts with static. Then if I want to keep my files organized, I will make a folder called CSS, which will contain style.css, and I'll make a JS folder, which will contain index.js. Okay. Does that make sense to everyone so far? Molly, you're shaking your head no.
No. Can you reiterate that? I'm sorry.
Okay. So just the way Flask is set up to work, right? Just like we have to put our templates in a special folder called templates, it has to be spelled perfectly right.
Right.
Any CSS, JavaScript we want to add, we need to put it inside of a static folder. So this is just a special name for the folder where we're going to keep our resources.
Okay.
So inside static, I'm going to make a folder called CSS. Okay. I'm also going to make a folder called JS. Okay. And any CSS or JavaScript that I want to add, I'm going to put in here. Okay. So I'm just going to they called it style.css, so I'm going to call it that. So I'm going to make a file called style.css. And I'm going to make a JavaScript file called index.js. Okay. And all I'm going to do in here is just smoke test, just to make sure it works. So I'm going to style the body. I'm going to give it a background color of something not too offensive. But we'll be able to see. I'm going to go with Bisque. Okay. So I want to test this, make sure that everything's linked up, make sure it works. So when I go back to my application, I should see a crashed server. Wait, there we go. Cool. So the background color changed, so I know that my style sheets are linked up. Okay. So I'm going to go back and do the same thing with JavaScript. Just going to put in a console log. Okay. So now if I go back to my page, refresh it, open the inspect tools, Go to my console. I see you did it, so my JavaScript is linked too.
Oh, okay. So go back to your index real quick.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
To which page?
The index.html.
Yeah. the way
Okay.
it's
Oh,
pasted
so
is
you
kinda
just
ugly.
so line
Sure.
8 you just did a link, and
Yeah.
then line 10 is a script.
It's
It's
just
all
what.
in the head.
Yeah, in the head.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna ask that. Doesn't the JS script normally go in the body?
Yeah, I was gonna say that
Your
too.
link type for JS.
It doesn't have to. You can put
Okay.
it in the head.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
we were taught
They
in
definitely
our
taught us
last
that.
stack was
Sometimes it doesn't
it
work
all
when
the
it's
way
in
to
the
the
head.
bottom.
Yeah, because sometimes it wasn't working when it's on the head. It's at the
Yeah.
head.
Yeah. Because
So we had to
so
put it
the
down.
you want the JavaScript to load last, right?
I guess. I think that was their
Yeah.
that was their
Right.
basis of it.
Yeah.
Normally you'll put
Yes.
the script tags in the back, and actually you don't have to do that. There's if you just add defer to your script tag, has the same effect as putting
Being
your
at the
script tag at the
bottom.
bottom.
Okay, but if you put it at
Okay.
if you put it in the body, is there a problem still doing this method? Will it cause a problem?
I've never tried it. Let's try it. Yeah, I just put my
Still
404
works.
up on the top. Yeah, still works. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the image tag, I'm going to talk about image tags in a second. This syntax, you really don't have to do it for images. You can just use a regular SRC and just put the path to your images, and it'll work just fine. So don't, if you want to include images, then just as long as you put the source, you don't have to use the Jinja tags. You can just put the link to the static folder, and they'll still work. Okay, any other questions?
So all the main folders have to be in one single folder,
Right. All the HTML
And
has to
it-
be in templates.
and then everything has to line up.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
I haven't gotten there yet, but I just wanna know before I get there, and then
Yeah,
I can
totally.
get out
Totally.
first.
All right. So let me